Welcome. Let's talk today about how emotional pain can be uncomfortable and misunderstood. Today, I will share with you a briefing on this topic, why allowing uh, what hurts can help us, or the gift of pain. I'm Sana Karpalati, an alchemist, a hatha yoga instructor, heart math coach. I help people who are hurting in four areas: general life struggles, including current, childhood, and inherited trauma, eating stress, medical stress and trauma, along with including surgery empowerment and recovery, and also performance issues in the areas of testing and competition. I lead retreats, I speak, I create guided audios that are available on CD Baby, and I can be reached at any time through my website, Life Changing Energy Therapies. So I want to begin with a story of a very sharp 92-year-old client who told me as soon as he sat down in his chair that he was too old for this mumbo jumbo healing stuff, and he was not going to change anything. He was very satisfied with his wife. His daughter had insisted that he see me because she knew of my work, because he was throwing temper tantrums, and these angry outbursts had started some years ago after his wife of 50, about 53 years. He was married to his wife for 53 years. So after I applied some emotional diffusion techniques, he softened, and he teared up, telling me that he felt this terrible guilt about not being by his wife's side when she died, because he, like a few minutes before, had stepped out to go to dinner. So as we worked, he began to realize that he was behaving irrationally, because he believed that if he made his family angry enough, they wouldn't care if they actually missed the actual moment of his death. So, and thus he would be sparing them any guilt. So he saw how his behavior was actually pushing family away. Understand that the subconscious mind works with a purpose of self-protection. And we're going to go back to this story in a little while. So when we allow the presence of what hurts us, we are free, or heal what hurts us. We are free to breathe more deeply into our lives, and feel the joy and the love that we truly want to have. However, many of us have carried layers of unresolved emotional distress. We have these daily awarenesses of pings of pain, and we also realize and know that these hurts can they have a way of kind of weaving themselves into different aspects of our lives. So how we experience this hurt can become very patterned and become a habit that we can become attached to, and it becomes a default mood for us, and it can actually prevent us from potentiating our lives and doing the things that we want to do, living as we only can dream of. But although we might be aware of all of this, and we've tried different things to either terminate or to get rid of the experience, we can get pretty frustrated because there's a persistence to this pain. It's very present. And if you look at it as a way of the subconscious mind communicating with us or directing us to look at something about our lives. So it's the proverbial elephant in the room, because what happens is time will drift us away from stresses or traumas or difficult life events, whether it was decades ago or even, say, months ago. And what happens, the experience is long past, but we're carrying an emotional imprint of a memory that continues to hurt us. So the mind, brain, nervous system will react as if it's happening today. And it occurs all over again, creating an experience in mood, in mind, in the body, in our lifestyle that is uncomfortable for us. So all pain has a beginning place. And when we know that there's something that we need to take a look at, it happens in a repeated fashion, either in a certain event or around a certain person or a particular topic or something that we absolutely have to avoid, or an emotional pattern that we have. Oftentimes, we have no clue of its origin because of the time and the disconnect, except for the distant stories or the experiences that we have from childhood, and and also about family, the ones that we've heard over and over and over again. So over time we disconnect with how these experiences that continue to kind of rise up today, and how those seeds were planted in the subconscious. But we don't make the connection between our pain, what we're experiencing today, and the originating life event, because the subconscious mind doesn't forget, and very important is that it doesn't know time. So your life and the life experience is integrated, and when that life event and the experience of it is integrated into the subconscious mind. So the pain patterns that we have, oftentimes people will tell me that they feel familiar to them, but they skip like a rock across the top of a lake into our lives at different times through different milestones or events that occur. And there's no reverence for what's happening in our lives, because these pains will percolate or bubble up, and we might feel okay for a while, then all of a sudden it's happening again, and we notice, because it's going to continue messaging us until we take an action or do something to help ourselves. And you might notice that how things start getting more intense or start getting bigger or more present, this hurt or this pain that we experience. There's a pattern to it, and there's an experience with it. Sometimes, as I said, it goes dormant, but then it comes back up again for a period of time. So guilt, worry, other intense emotions, or even body symptoms, when we ignore them, when we distract ourselves, or we leave things unprocessed, they eventually will create a disturbance either in our body health or out in our lives in some way, and we are then inconvenienced. Okay, sooner or later, that hurt, as it begins to show itself, it is, like I said, it can become more intense and even costing us more. Um, so so what happens, we all have a lens that we look in, that life comes through, we process it, and then we live through it again. So our lens can become clouded or dimmed, and our lack of joy also deepens. And the most important piece is that we continue to feel the distress. And it really doesn't matter whether we know what it is or not. We notice this pattern and how it's affecting us. So there is a part of us that wants to secure relief, but there's also a part of us that tries to kind of shoo these things away like a pesky fly, or to just turn away from it, or hope that it'll go away. When we ignore ourselves and what's happening within us, we also lose this opportunity to grow, to deepen our convictions, to strengthen, or to connect with others and even ourselves, or even to deepen more spiritually. So there's two things that I really want you to know. No matter what the underlying issue is, uh, number one is that there is nothing on the planet that someone has not survived or healed from. Okay. The other thing is that sometimes, excuse me, sometimes people are worried about being re-traumatized if they take a look at something that feels really big in their lives. Well, with the right approaches, there's no need to worry about being re-traumatized. The 92-year-old client that I referred to earlier, he called me about a week later, and he told me that the night after we did the work, after the session, he had this dream where his wife appeared to him and told him that she wanted him to be well fed so that he could handle so that he would be more physically okay as he handled as he was informed of her death. So he told me in that moment that he was diabetic, and his wife was always concerned that he have his meals on time. So after this experience here and his dream, his outbursts ceased, and he connected with his father. And when he died several months later, he had his family by his side. His daughter, who had been a previous client, called me to tell me about this and how happy he was that he had resolved it. It was a very touching story for me as a practitioner. So we can take an action, simple steps toward self-awareness and a resolution of this hurt or this gnawing ache that we notice in our lives. But it's important for you to recognize this, that oftentimes we all say, yeah, there's a gift or there's a lesson here. But when we are in the midst of avoidance of the discomfort, we are also disconnected not only from self, but from the possibility of this wisdom or this awareness of love, or the lesson, or whatever it is that coexists with that problem or the hurt that we're experiencing. It's a part of the problem. It's a part of the entire experience of growing. So my suggestion to you is that sometimes all you need to do is to recognize the emotional pain. You can, if it's patterned in your system, you can call it up at any time. And through gentle awareness, you can tune in to that part of you that's hurting and offer the same compassion to self that you would offer to someone that you know who is hurting. So it's only when we allow the hurt to be present, or allow this pain that we feel to acknowledge it, then we can stop distracting ourselves from it, and then we can find ourselves growing spiritually. Because as I said, sometimes just allowing it is enough. You might even notice, have you ever sat with sadness or fears and you just allow it to process through, to move through you like the wind blows through a tree? I know it can seem frightening, especially if you've turned away from an experience, or distracted yourself, especially when you notice that it's surfacing again. So a few minutes of sitting with the ache can connect us to a fear that you can resolve, and perhaps guide us to a wound of the past. Now, notice when you do that, it might feel, because these emotional patterns can feel very familiar to us, even though we haven't drawn or connected the dots yet. It can feel very temporarily intense, especially as you presence it, because when we distract ourselves, it's almost as if we put a lid on it or suppress it a little bit more. And the other piece is that giving it presence can also give you relief. So I might even recommend to you that if you sit with something that is feeling hurtful, that you can tap and breathe on this point right here, which is an acupressure point that is related to fear. So you can enter into this experience through the body, through the mind, through a memory that you have, or even through a mood, and taking some action and trusting that you can find a strength with which to heal the hurt, the issue that created it, and also to allow the strength or the wisdom, or the lesson to become also a part of you, because then you can look back on this situation and decide what it is that you want to embrace, as opposed to holding on to the suffocating, or the intense pressure of the pain. Sometimes just the compassion of a partner, a good talk with a friend, journaling, asking for spiritual guidance, or even a professional consult can help you to find a resolution, or to connect the dots. But whatever you decide, take the first step toward unburdening yourself. And even if it feels like it could be, or possibly be, this huge event in your life, even if you're not sure, you can begin to turn slowly towards it and breathe, and allow yourself to connect with something about your life that it could be really important for you to understand. Because keep in mind that so much of what we heard about today happened during our childhood, or we carried it forward through the bleed of the family inheritance that we all are a part of. And um, so when you connect with what hurts, you process through it towards finding the solution, as well as the gifts. And what I started to say a moment ago is that sometimes, when you even just turning towards it through the eyes of a wiser adult, because when we're kids and there's so much overwhelm, stress, trauma, uh, like difficult events, mysterious events, things that happen in our lives, we don't understand the bigger picture. But as adults, we have gained a greater sense of some of the things, and some things we're just not ever going to know. So you can take in the beauty of life that you long for, as you begin to reduce these burdens, and taking one step, even if it's just to presence it, will create space within yourself for greater well-being. And as my 92-year-old client, um, kind of showed us and me is that it's never too late, that nor is there a hurt that cannot be held within your heart in a new way. So if you think a professional consult could help you, I offer a complimentary 15-minute consultation, and you can sign up and schedule for that on my website. There's a link there to schedule once, and I also have a monthly Ask Sauna Anything call related to my work, of course, every third Thursday at 8 o'clock. Eastern Standard Time, and the link is there for you to sign up. And I will also, make a note of it on Facebook. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate it, and I hope this has been helpful. So as I sign off, I wish you all a beautiful strength to hold within yourself all of life. Love you all. Thank you again so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Love all the hearts.